So do you want us to, should we talk and you can tell us if you hear us?
I would like to make a motion to come out of executive session.
I second that.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye. Straight.
With sorry, Melanie. She doing it?
No, I can't.
You want?
Well,
We'll do it up here. No, I'll do it then. I'll do it. I'm just so used to her doing it. No, she's talking about something
We understand
different.
that publicly heard is at the beginning of the meeting. I'm sorry, that the sign up is at the beginning. Yes.
You go over ahead of me.
Brent?
And your last name, Brent?
Robertson.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I got Laurel. Yep. Marta. Hey, Marta, how are you? Yeah.
When does this?
Richard Bob, okay, we're full. No, that's it. We got it. How many are we doing now? Oh, okay. You got it, Michael.
Actually.
On spot.
He's saying. No, this.
And yourself, yesterday I was supposed to.
That's cheap. $400. You know what other places are paying? They should do a little homework.
Exactly. It is.
So homework.
Donald's here yet? Oh,
All these people here for the overlay.
What is that? Based on.
come on up.
Yeah.
Did you sit there? No, you can come sit right up there. You gotta use the mic, so it's just down, so. Welcome to McDonald's. So how's your first 2 months been?
Are we calling the meeting to order or what are we doing?
Back in session.
Oh, you did? No, he moved to come out. I didn't hear you call back in. Right.
Okay, folks. Thank you. Okay, so Donald Allen, highway superintendent here, he's gonna give a little report. And I know that we have 1, 2, 3. Three resolutions on our bench.
I'm gonna talk about them.
As well.
I wish I'd come last meeting. There was only a few people. here.
Talking to you, Mike.
Talking to your mic, because Melanie's.
I wish I came last meeting because there's only a few people here. I guess there's a big crowd tonight. Yeah, an audience. I did want to come in January, but I had a winter event. And I wanted to come in February. I had a snow event. And actually, your second meeting, I wanted to come, but to be honest, I worked the night before and I was tired and I went home and had a beer and went to bed.
Understood.
So I do want to say in February, I did fire an email off to everybody in regards to a promotion and a grade raise. You guys reviewed it and you supported it 100%. And I do thank you. And I know the guys that got promoted and got the grade raise were happy. I do hope that in regards to salaries and raises that we can continue a good conversation throughout the year because I'm hoping to make us more competitive with our neighboring communities, but I'm not here to talk about that.
I do believe though we're up for negotiations this year.
Yeah.
I think this is the third year of the contract.
So I hope we can have that conversation throughout the year. First tonight, we got the 284, which I believe everyone's familiar. Anula, I don't know if you're familiar with how that works. The 284. Well, it's kind of a state law that really makes no sense. I basically come to you in the beginning of the year and I outline what I'm going to blacktop. And the salary or the budget was set last year, not knowing what I was going to do. And then I basically have to guess what I want to do before the federal government gives the CHIP money. There's PAVE New York money. There's energy or emergency winter recovery money and PAVE our pothole money. So I basically decide what roads that I want to blacktop. And usually every year we have money left over. Actually, last year we had 50 grand left over from the federal grants. So you have to fill out this document. You used to have to file it with the state and the county, but now you don't have to anymore. I just have to file it with you and you guys review it. Just a quick going over it. I plan on blacktopping Colebrook Road last year. A third of it was done. I'm going to finish that this year. Upper Bird Cliff is half done. Boney got that half done. I'm going to finish that. And actually Millstream, which I've had a ton of complaints about this year, will get milled and will get blacktop. Those will probably contract out because they're bigger jobs and I just don't have the manpower to do it. But then there's like Wilbur Lane, Bellows, and Wiley, which I think have maybe only been blacktop once in their life. They get overlooked every year, but I can handle them in-house. So those streets will get done too. Okay. So hopefully you guys will review it and sign it and we can file that away. The other thing discuss is the fueling system for the town, for the police, for the highway, for maintenance. It's an old system. It was a good system, but it's old. The software is obsolete. If we start having problems, we can't get anything for it. And it's kind of held together with duct tape, as some people would say. So I know before I got elected, they had started working on it. They had some high prices, but then American Petroleum, they did a site visit. They gave us a couple options. And the middle option was about $48,000, which is a good way to go. I mean, we communicate with it from my office there on a dial-up internet system. And every time it rains in the system, the phone lines go down. So now it's a modern system. So, and I think this one will last a long time. We're going to take the tanks. The tanks are going to be drained, cleaned. So it's an upgrade and it's a good way to go. And I hope you support it.
If I could just address that for 1 minute, because Heather and I have been working on that for quite a while. And thank Heather for hanging out and sticking with that. There will be there'll be a slightly higher yearly annual cost for the hardware or for the software and for the internet service, but we are going to be saving. We're getting rid of 2 phone lines, which is going to be a savings. So it's not a huge increase. Also, and this is a little hard to calculate, but there'll be no requirement for manpower to go over and check periodically, which is what we had to do. So it's a far more efficient system. Yes.
Okay, so I guess I don't really have a good vision of what a fueling system is. I know if I want to gas up my car, I go to the fuel, service station and I put the thing in and I pump it up. But it's a system that, I guess, I mean, the system is, you have to have a system to, when you press the thing to put the gas in your vehicle or the diesel. But why do you need a phone system or a
Well, it has
dial?
index balances. Down. That they can-
Okay. Okay,
And the books have to match. Things
okay.
gotta match. We've had some problems with the software and done a lot of inspections on it, and the software has been a big problem.
One of the things I'll remind you, so you pull into Cumberland Farms and their tanks are hardwired into the building. We're dealing with a fuel tank over at the sewer
Salt
treatment and one at the salt shed. And Heather's dealing with it up the highway. So there needs to be this longer communication.
So there are actually 3 places where if highway or police need to fuel up their vehicles. There are 3 places in town, 2 places in town.
No, there's one gas tank. Oh, maybe you could just grab a new list since she's the mic. There's a gas tank over at the sewer treatment plant, and there's a diesel tank over at the salt shed.
Ah, okay.
So the bigger trucks will go over there. The police, the maintenance equipment. You've got a couple of gas vehicles would go over there.
And during a rainstorm, it's a pain in the neck because the system just doesn't want to take the information.
Yeah.
So it's going to make it a lot more efficient for the whole town.
Well, thanks for the explanations. Appreciate it.
Mentioned dial-up. Please tell me you don't have dial-up right now.
Right now, that's
Yeah.
how the fuel system works.
That's what the upgrade is for.
So it's time. That's why, they kind of, when I call the problems, they kind of laugh at us and go, well.
The system is only 10 or 15 years old. So, at the time, though, that was what was available.
I just have visions of that AOL dial-up sound. I'm sorry.
You should live it.
I'm going to vote yes.
Last thing I had was the radio system. My radio system does not work. Again, it depends on phone lines. And when it rains and it snows this winter, I had no communication with my big trucks that were up in Silver Hollow or up in Mink Hollow. I hate to use the expression, but I have some young kids that are good employees, but they're driving big $300,000 plow trucks over the mountain, and I worry about them. And the radio system is important. I will say this started before I was elected. Bill actually made the contact with River Valley, and I think he's come up with a good proposal. It's a repeater system, and I won't go into that because all the years I've been involved with radios, I don't understand it. I just want them to work. So this guy made a good presentation. We did field visits all around, and I think it's a good proposal. Actually, I was quite amazed with how low it was. I think it's a good way to go. So I hope that you'll support that.
So my question, if I may, so everything you're talking about sounds like I would want to support it. It's a question of, is the budget there this year? Or would it have to wait till another year? So my question would be a budget question. Perfect.
So, just to give a little history, because the radios we've been working on a long time, and we moved the police radio up to California Quarry 5 or 6 years ago, Chief, maybe longer. We've looked at dealing with the highway department. Donald, you and I, when, as a commissioner, and we talked about doing something with the fire department. One of the frustrations with radios is there's a lot of people with opinions, and they vary greatly. And sometimes the folks, their opinions actually change midstream. So we've gone back and forth a dozen times, trying to get a clear answer as to what would work the best. And we're pretty confident that this guy's come up with a good solution, and it's reasonably priced. So
anyhow, that's all I have for this month. Next month, I will be back to ask for something else. I'll warn you. So I hope we keep lines of communication open, and okay. We can show you the fuel system is $48,469.30.
Yep.
30 cents. Yep. And the radio, I believe I have the right one because there were several. Radio was $6,201.03. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're welcome, Bennett.
And you should, if you look back, Bennett, those proposals were sent out a week or two ago. Okay, that it, Donald?
So that's it for tonight. It's wonderful. No, actually, I was hoping, you know, when you have a storm with 2 to 3 inches of snow, use just as much sand and salt as if it's over like 16 hours. And if you have that 10 inches of snow over 5 hours, that storm's actually easier. You use less material, you use less manpower. These storms were really, you know, I talked to highway superintendents from other towns. They were a pain in the neck this year. You know, and I will say Woodstockers like bare roads.
We did seem to have a lot of them that lingered all day long and didn't produce
Yes, we did.
much, but I have to say the guys did a good job. You did a good job. So thanks for
you.
keeping us safe.
Thank you.
So, all right, if you're done, is Ken Panza here yet? Come on up, Ken. You want to come talk about Community Climate Action Plan? You sent us a resolution that you'd like us to adopt. Speak into the mic so folks at home can hear you.
All right, and I'll give a little background. I'm here in my role as a member of the Climate Smart Committee. And earlier this year, we were invited to join what they call a cohort by the Mid-Hudson Regional Council, which is an organization which is funded by NYSERDA and the DEC to help towns like us meet these requirements of the Climate Smart program. And this particular cohort focuses on updating the community climate and greenhouse gas emissions inventory. And this probably goes back maybe 15 years when NYSERDA hired a bunch of consultants to really do the greenhouse gas inventory for the entire state, put out and did it for each major economic region in the state, and the Mid-Hudson Valley being one of those regions. Last year, the Mid-Hudson Regional Council updated that information for 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were invited to join the group to update Woodstock's information based on that. And so this is the first part of that sequence. First, you do the inventory, and then you do a climate plan, which presumably would help you reduce the greenhouse gas information. So we found some interesting things. The largest amount of greenhouse gas emissions in Woodstock comes from vehicles, what they call transportation. But only half of that is really what you would call cars, you know, trucks, things that are on the road.
Right.
In Woodstock, what we found is that 40% of the emissions attributed to Woodstock actually come from the New York Thruway, because they take all the emissions associated with Ulster County and distribute it among the towns based on population. So we got our fair share from the Thruway.
Oh, wow.
Which is about 40% of total emissions. The other half of it has to do with cars in Woodstock. There's another 10% which has to do with off-road vehicles. And this would be your tractors and bulldozers, but also a lot of lawn equipment.
Right.
And it was really amazing to find out how much lawn equipment, how much pollution they put out, because they're all two-stroke, four-stroke engines, no types of emission controls on them.
Right.
A half hour with a two-cycle gas-powered leaf blower is equivalent to a F-150 Ford pickup truck driving from Texas to Alaska.
Wow.
A trip of 3,900 miles.
Could you repeat that? Sorry. That was shocking.
A half hour of using a two-cycle gas leaf blower is equivalent to an F-150 Ford Raptor driving from Texas to Alaska, a trip of about 3,900 miles. So that was interesting. Then the second largest segment has to do with residential. And at that point, you know, the residential is, the greenhouse gas emissions are associated with electricity and with fuel oil. And what we found out is that electricity only accounts for 16% of the emissions from the resident. The rest has to do with fuel oil, which means, you know, you focus on things like heat pumps to really do that. So that's sort of where we are at this point. And so I submitted this report to the town board, more as a checkpoint to understand where we are. The DEC wants us to put it up on the website so that the citizens can look at it and make comments of it. But the next stage will be doing the climate action plan, and that would involve dealing with the county. We've already started working with them. Ford Framer, I can't remember his last name, and also with the housing committee. We've sort of brought them into the loop and at least checkpointed with them to tell them what we're doing. And so I've asked for the resolution to just kind of recognize where we are, put the report on the website, and give us the go ahead to do what the next step.
I plan to put it on next week. I will, if everybody's agreeable, that we can put the report up tomorrow. I don't know.
Should it go on the WEC page, do you think, or do you have a preference of both those?
Well, I mean, if we had a climate smart page, that would be one, but I would say the WEC page under climate smart, you know, under the someplace on that page would be appropriate. We'll send out notes with pointers.
Right.
So you really don't have to, just as long as it's there, we can find it. All right.
Ken, thank you very much for that report.
Thank you, Ken.
So.
Okay.
Add it to the minutes. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So this is practice. Good. Okay, so I will have that resolution on for next week. Does anybody have any objections? I jumped the gun and put the report on tomorrow. Okay, good. All right, let's go through some resolutions. Be it resolved to authorize the town board to sign Highway 284 agreement.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And if you could all come in tomorrow, we'll need to sign that. I'll have that prepared and ready to go. Actually, why don't you plan on coming in Thursday? That way we'll get it. We'll have it ready either over at Jackie's or my office. Be it resolved to authorize the supervisor to sign contract with American Petroleum Equipment and Construction for highway fuel tank upgrades.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Be resolved to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with River Valley Radio Inc. to upgrade highway radios.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Be resolved to hire George Clapper as a part-time rec aide, an hourly rate of $19.72 effective March 5th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Be it resolved to hire Caitlin Hoban to a 90-day full-time temporary police officer effective March 12th, 2024 at an hourly rate of $29.13.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Be resolved to hire Matt Shields as part-time police officer effective March 12th, 2024 at an hourly rate of $29.13. All in favor? Aye. And this one wasn't on, but we interviewed Mary Smith. Be it resolved to appoint Mary Smith to the Complete Streets Committee, term to expire 12/31/25. All in favor? Aye.
Be it resolved to strike STR from the January 9, 2024 fee schedule line, which reads Group RI, B&B, STR, 400 plus $50 per bedroom, and add a line, which reads STR, $100.
Is there a second? Okay. Moving on then. So I was going to open the public hearing for the scenic overlay. However, I know there is some issues and concerns about verbiage being added to grandfather in and protect folks who have existing views. I am in support of that. So I don't know if we want to hold off on the public hearings.
Maybe.
Mhm.
And I'd like to hear what they have to say, so we can go on record. So as we deliberate, I know, I don't want to speak for Newell, but Newell and I did both speak about, so I know, I'll just speak for myself at the moment, is I am actually in favor of having some verbiage that allows some maintenance of some of what people already have, and open to the idea of a permit process so that there's some governance over it. So I'm happy anyway, but I think by hearing what people say, it may have to decide, how do we, do a permit process? We don't want a permit process. If we hear what people say, we'll know what people's feelings are, or some people may say, hey, we don't want this, we want to keep the law as it is, which does not allow you to maintain what you have. And the ZR Zoning Revision Committee did discuss this last night. Oh, I'm sorry. So the Zoning Revision Committee did discuss this last night, and they, the Zoning Revision Committee likes the idea of just letting the growth happen unless you have a safety reason, or unless, in some cases, when there's a property where you're able to build because you've bought a buildable lot, you can certainly take down trees to build what you need to build, and you would get approval for that. And if you have a safety issue, you get approval for that. And the Zoning Revision Committee as a body, other than that, likes to see the trees grow, but they recognize that the law has come from the Zoning Revision Committee, and now it is with the town board. And they do understand that it's up to us if we want to put a clause in, we're the final say of what the law says. So I know my position is, I do believe that there should be some ability to maintain a view, some kind of permit, be it the building inspector, does it have to go to the planning board? There's different questions about how you do a permit process, but so there's some governance over it. I think probably makes sense, but I'm interested in hearing what the people have to say as long as they're here.
So who wants to talk about scenic overlay tonight? Two. Okay. Lori, I'm going to give you this mic, and you can I'll ask anybody who wants to speak to come on up. And so back and forth.
Okay. So the other thing I would like to say is Bill and I each have received phone calls and correspondence from people. So this isn't, I'm not just making this up. Oh, let's maintain the view. We have been getting some correspondence, phone calls, hearing this feedback from people. So I just wanted to share that I'm speaking based on some feedback I've already heard.
Thanks. Wouldn't you want to send the thing back to the Zoning Revision Committee and have the Zoning Revision Committee look and reconsider in a fuller extent everything that everybody has to say, rather than leave it up to the town board here?
Well, the town board rewrites.
Of course, the town board does do the final thing, but I mean, the Zoning Revision Committee is the proper place for all of these things to be considered.
They have considered. Okay. So I'll project better. So
the zoning revision. Okay. The Zoning Revision Committee has already taken a look at it, and they don't want to change it. So again, the law is now, the amendments are now in our hands, and it's our responsibility to move forward with that.
Yeah, and I did send it back. We did send it back to the Zoning Revision Committee, and they have a point of view, and I respect the point of view.
I'm confused. Does the Zoning Revision Committee like what it's got right now?
Yes.
Yes, they like what they've got right now. We're talking about adding one clause that would allow current property owners to maintain a view that, say they purchased a property that had this view, it allows property owners to maintain a view. The Zoning Revision, I've asked them twice. I asked them in an email, and I asked them in the meeting last night. The Zoning Revision Committee's position is keep the law the way it is, but we are the town board. We are the ones who will vote on the law. And I believe it's a quorum. Three of the town board is a quorum. 3 makes things happen. If a quorum of the town board says pass the scenic overlay law the way it is, it'll pass. That's a quorum. If a quorum of the town board says add this clause, we'll add the clause. Because the town board passes the law. The zoning revision committee makes recommendations, and by and large, the town board has been accepting pretty much everything that the zoning revision committee has put forth. And I'm very proud of the zoning revision committee because they're very thorough in deliberations and considering things, but people are allowed to have different point of views on a topic. And on this one topic, the zoning revision committee has a point of view that's different from mine.
I'm confused. The zoning revision committee has put this forward and they don't want to consider a change to it.
Correct.
But you're the chair of the zoning revision committee, right?
But I need to, there's four of us, three out of four. 3 out of 4 ZRC members would like to see the scenic overlay law not change. I am the chair, and I did agree, because they couldn't be at this meeting, I agreed to share the zoning revision committee position to let that be heard, as well as whoever here wants to speak. So I am the chair, but I'm not the king or queen, as it were. It is a democracy, and I respect their opinions.
I've got a question. I don't know if this is the right time for it, if it's before or after public be heard in regards to this. Well, I do share Laura's point of view, that if a property has had a view, that it be allowed to maintain it with proper oversight. Because, for example, the way I read this was that the town assessor would be involved by notifying of when a property changes hands. So my question is an assessment based on when a property is assessed, is the value of the view taken into account? Because I know in a purchase, it certainly is. So if, following the logic of the ZRC's existing law, if they basically say, sorry, we don't care if your view is grandfathered in, let it grow up, then the logic would stand that the property should be reassessed because it would no longer have a view and taxes would go down. So that's something I wanted to call attention to.
Okay.
I would want some type of a permitting process, which from my understanding would involve the neighbors, right? So that folks have a say in what happens with their neighborhood. But the view really is for all of us, quite frankly.
Michael, come on up. So again, we'll keep it to 2 minutes.
Okay. Oh, fine. What do I have to do here?
Just stand right there.
Stand right here. All right. Not too close to the table. Oh, right. Okay.
We have manners here, Ben.
Speaking as the chair of the tree committee, we totally support protecting and preserving our scenic overlay. One of our recommendations, Laura, I think you may remember, was that before anything happens in the mountains, that we do a drone mapping of the scenic overlay, so that these people that you were referring to, for example, that have the pre-existing view will be held accountable if they happen to restore a little too much of their pre-existing views. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think the first step is to, fund the drone mapping of the complete scenic overlay. So we have a baseline of where the current forest is now, who's got the views now, who doesn't have the views. And then whenever something happens, we have something to actually physically refer to. Okay.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody else want to speak about the scenic overlay?
Hi, thank you. I'll be quick.
Okay, thanks.
I just want to say that I grew up here and there's something to be said for the view changing and growing with the land and allowing it to grow. And I understand that views bring money in for houses. And at the same time, our environment really matters. I actually agree. I agree with Michael about having an actual baseline. right? So that we know where we're at. I see people move here, clear cut their yards so that people can see their house. We are actually a migratory stop. And so a lot of the trees that are here and a lot of the communities, the people that have lived here have been feeding birds for 30, 40 years, that we actually have an ecosystem to consider. And I would actually prefer to prioritize the ecosystem over preserving the view and people's property values.
Thank you, Rachel.
Come on up.
Kind of reacting to what I've heard because I haven't really listened to know what was on the proposal. But my gut take on this is that there has to be a little bit more study on this. And also that we need to have a designated arborist who knows how to trim trees properly and not to cut it or harm any trees. Many of our trees right now are very stressed due to the climate change, excess water, excess heat, and the variations which are killing our trees. So we really need to have a skilled arborist to trim these trees if you're going to go that route. The second question I have is what is the side of the houses or whatever, the structures from 28 or 212, and what do we see in the mountains? Because from what I understand, we had a very strong law about that, so we wouldn't see an overlooked mountain. The buildings from a distance, and also the reflection, which kills many birds from hitting into the reflections of the houses, sides of mountains, as you very well know happens in New York City. So those are very many points that we have to take in consideration before you pass it and really understand the issues, because it's a lot more complicated than just saying, oh, we're going to keep our assessment the way it is. This is very much of a ripple effect.
I'm going to respond for a moment. So there is a scenic overlay law today. The scenic overlay law proposed by the Zoning Revision Committee clarifies things more clearly and makes it stricter because it actually includes when there's a case coming before the planning board that that now the planning board has the option of requiring drone photos before the applicant even begins doing work, and then they can do photos afterwards to show the difference. So the scenic overlay law that is being proposed does shore up the existing law quite a bit. All we're talking about right now really is changing what the law says to say, well, we didn't add any clause that says, what about existing views? We were really more focused on if somebody's got a new project that comes to the planning board, the scenic overlay law was focused on how do we control that? And that's what the current proposed law does. It does not say, what do you do with existing views? So that's all we're talking about here in terms of changing in the proposed law is the existing view part. But it is a much better law, I believe, than what's existing in the law today.
Thank you, Laura.
Actual change, well, you're talking about the change from the existing law to the one that's being proposed by the ZRC, or between the only thing in terms of what the ZRC has proposed for the scenic overlay law, the only change that we're talking at the table about changing is a clause that says people do have the option of maintaining an existing view, but we're talking about figuring out a permitting process so it doesn't run rampant, that there's some control and governance over it. So so there would be some people could maintain their view if we add that clause to the proposed law.
I'd like to see a grid that says what the existing law is, what the Zoning Revision Committee has said, and then what this proposed change that you're advocating that we put into that is. I'd like to see what those three things are and how they differ from each other to make a more informed decision.
Well, we're talking about adding one clause. And so we would need to work that up before the next town board meeting so that people could see it. And then hopefully, if we have a quorum of the board that agrees, we would then adopt it in April. So we would, I mean, you could pull the current law because it's online. You could pull the ZRC proposed law because it's on the website. It's in the TB.
I also mailed that to you.
It's in the town board meeting documents, and that's been available for, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months. So we're just looking
I'll put those three things together. If you can send me that one clause that you're talking about, then I'll be able to put all three of those together and we can look at it. That'd be great.
So it's 3 minutes. Laurel, come on up.
Oh, Brent.
Come on up, Brent. And there's the mic. If you could just. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Then the folks at home can kind of get a look.
Hi, I'm Brent Robison, and I'm here representing a group of us called Woodstock Fair B&B, and I would like those of you here for that to please stand up. And if you're on Zoom, raise your hand. So we're a group that has come together in response to the new permit fee increase. And to tell you a little bit about who we are, we're all Woodstock homeowners who have expended a lot of effort and expense to build our small, clean businesses at our homes. We are doing this in order to make ends meet in a very difficult economic environment. And we're applying by all codes and paying the fees. And we have our annual permits. So we were surprised earlier this year to get a bill from the building department for a permit fee increase of anywhere from 600 to 1,000% and even more in some cases, without any rationale or explanation. So a few of us responded to the supervisor and the building department with a question, and we're informally told this money is for code enforcement, which in our opinion is backwards, because the source of code enforcement problems are the non-compliant people, not the members of this group. We went on to file a Freedom of Information law requests that asking for the rationale for this increase, and the response was documents do not exist. We were asked, we also FOIL requested a rationale for, or the explanation for what the allocation of the funds would be. Again, general fund revenue, no documents exist. And I just want to point out that even though the municipal code 260-4056 says that the town board will set STR permit fees on an annual basis, we contend that those few words don't give unlimited authority to just pick a number out of thin air for unexplained reasons. There is a New York open governance law that states the legal necessity of governmental transparency, and in our opinion, beyond legality is just basic civic ethics to require an explanation for this. So what we're asking for is to rescind this increase and open up public discussion so that we can come together to a fair and reasonable permit fee for STRs.
Your 3 minutes are up. Thank you, Brett. I know
That's right.
Thank you.
I would also like to just quickly distribute our hard copies of our letter to each of you, along with some samples of our. Yes, along with some.
Scott, if you have more.
There's nothing more. It's just that, and our copies of samples of our previous letters as well.
Okay. The board, anybody wants hard copies? Jackie, next speaker. Laurel. They're coming. Yes.
Hi, my name is Laurel Cross, resident of Woodstock, a lifetime resident of this area, and a former member of the Woodstock Zoning Board. I first need to say that I want to thank each and every one of you for demonstrating on a regular basis what the democratic process is, and this is it. So I thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Welcome.
It's challenging, you know, being in your seats. We're kind of new with this challenge. In 2016, to help alleviate school and property tax bills, my husband and I applied for and were granted special use and operating permits for an owner-operated short-term rental and paid the associated startup fees. Meanwhile, we have also been paying quarterly fees to Ulster County and annual fees to the town of Woodstock. In December 23, Ulster County alerted us to expect a 2% fee increase effective February 1. In January, on the 25th, the Daily Freeman published that announcement. Contrastingly, the town of Woodstock, with no advance notice to its STR operators or the public, increased our annual fees 1,025%. That's my experience, equal to the same rate imposed by the city of Kingston for operators of 20 plus units. I've got one, they have 20, I'm paying the same. Keep in mind, there is no differentiation, as the code currently stands, between STR rates charged to owners living on-site or off-site, nor if an operator charges $100 a night or $1,000 a night. After joining Woodstock Fair B&B, a group recently formed to contest this drastic fee increase. Thank you all for being here. We came to understand that it was enacted to cover code enforcement costs, such as inspections of those illegally registered, searches for those not registered, and various responses like police for security alarms and noise complaints, you know, and how those are handled. While it was the intention to bring the town's fee schedule on par with other townships, this obviously was not the case. We also came to learn that the proposed fee schedule increase was just one of 47 resolutions passed as a batch during the January 9 town board meeting, which only lasted 35 minutes. That's a lot of activity without public discussion. Last year, to allow existing operations to become legal, another group gathered to request a cap on the number of STR permits to be raised. They knew to register with Ulster County, but somehow were unaware they needed to register with Woodstock.
Well, your 3 minutes are up, but I believe you're coming on Monday as well, right? Okay. So thank you, and we'll continue this conversation then.
That I know that the town board's mission is to raise revenues and manage expenses. However, this burden seems to be unfair. Please give us advance notice. That's why we have newspapers. We ask the town board to revisit their decision on STR fees, invite public input, become more transparent with their actions. And thank you, Bennett, for your attempt.
Jackie, next.
My name is Marta Sabo. I'm 67 years old and have lived in Woodstock for 25 years. In other words, I'm a newcomer. My husband lives in a nursing home. I host 2 Airbnbs on my property. I do not share my home with strangers every weekend just for kicks. Hosting is my main income. Without it, I would have to sell my home. If the town is in such dire need of cash, why not look into increasing penalties on those who are not abiding by the laws and ordinances of the town? For years, a place of business across the street from me disregards the noise ordinance almost every night without penalties of any kind. If you think that blasting your fellow townspeople with sudden exorbitant fees is the right way to go, tell us your reasoning and invite public debate. Otherwise, taking the easy way out, you sow distrust, anger, and resistance. We are all under a lot of pressure. I understand that you are too. Nonetheless, I think you are each capable of using your imagination, your position of leadership, and natural goodwill to come up with a better solution than this. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta.
Urena Kinley.
Hi, I'm Urena, I'm now just a citizen here, but I also grew up here and watched our community change drastically in the last 10 years. We are in an affordable housing crisis. We talk about this probably every meeting. And I spent 5 years researching and working on this specific issue. Short-term rentals isn't the only reason we're in this, but it's a big chunk. It's taking away stock, and we need stock. And across the country, there's about 3.8 million lack of dwelling units that people can reside in across the country. So it's a big problem. I wanted to say about the fees, it's unfortunate that you guys didn't get a letter. I would totally understand being a little shocked, but across the county and in the Hudson Valley, we're the lowest. $50 was like a freebie. It was kind of a gold rush. In Shandaken alone, it's an absent owner, 1 bedroom is $500. An owner occupied $300 plus additional $50. Resident owner $400, each additional bedroom $200. So we looked at, did some research in a subgroup and looked around and saw what everybody else was doing. And it was shocking how much money. The money should also be protected. And Housing Committee sent in October a document for policy to the town board, asking that they put the money for the funds that would come from increasing the fees, which was a request that we had, into a housing plan fund and to be protected and used for enforcement. Between September 2022 and 2023, there were 197 illegal short-term rentals. In February 2023, there was the median rate at the low level, not even peak season, was $273. Granicus, that's an enforcement company that does what human beings can't do, because there are 72 platforms, Airbnb being one of them, that everybody's using in this town to promote and list their short-term rentals. If you look at, they recommend a formula across the nation that what other people are doing is you take your median for the year, times it by 2 or times it by 3. 273 times 2 was 543, I think it was 46. We're only asking 4. I think that that's enough money to offset what's going on in our town and help towards enforcement and other initiatives and outreach and other stuff that we need to help balance the affordable housing. No one's asking you to take them away. It's a balance.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Richard Buck. I'm a resident of Woodstock and have been for 20 some odd years. I am a single Airbnb owner. I'm getting a couple of things. Originally, I was just with me, it seems like there's 2 issues. One is affordable housing, the other is development. And I'm trying to, about a year ago, I stood up and I said, what? Can you hear me? Is that any better?
So you just need to speak louder.
Oh, okay. Got it. Anyway, long story short, I share concerns about. You get a bill from 8 or 9 without prior notification. It's like, at least we got something from Kingston, from Walker County. We got a pink notice that said your tax is going to be 2%. No big deal if it's not coming out of our pocket because we taxed wrong. But the point is, as I said, everybody else, it's like notification. You know, number one, prior notification. Number two, public discussion. Never really have to be in reverse there. But number three, just let us know. Second point I'd like to make is the fact that if you take 300 STRs and multiply that times 400, you got $120,000. That's a lot of money. And so it seems that you got to square that somehow. You know, it's either enforcement and you either draw a circle around the STR issue, or you look at the broader issue of how can that address affordable housing? You know, do we put that into a special fund if it is? So there's a couple of things as I see it, and I'm not looking to muddy the waters here, but there seems to be the solution. One is discussion on vacation, and the other one is how do you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Richard.
Michael Page.
I don't have an STR. I don't have a Airbnb, but I do share the concerns about unwanted increases in fees. As you, Bill, investment in this town. Put a lot of money into our property. I spent a lot of time volunteering my time. I'm on 2 committees, have been doing it for years. Ever since I got here, I've been volunteering. My concern is, and what I like to do is I like to look ahead. I want to see what's coming down the pike. These poor people didn't see the fee increase coming, but I see warning signs out there. And I think you, Bill, owe it to this town to sit down and tell us exactly what's going on with the lawsuits, the EEOC lawsuits, the Shady Dump lawsuits. You may be looking at more lawsuits. I'm just saying that as a taxpayer in this town, and now a much greater taxpayer than I was a couple of years ago, I'm worried. And I don't trust you, Bill, to be doing the right thing. I want to know. I want to trust you, Bill. Let's put it this way. I really do want to trust you. The only way the trust is going to be established is if you lay it on the table and tell us what's going on. I know how sexual harassment suits get settled. They get settled for millions of dollars. Millions. We're not talking $450 here. I have 1 more minute. I have public be heard. Jackie. Keep going. I just want to say that let's look at the big picture, the big dollars. Let's be straight with the town, the taxpayers. Tell us what's going on. Are we going to settle these lawsuits? Are we going to fight them? How much is it going to cost? How much are the lawyers going to cost? Can you bring a lawyer in here to tell us what's going on? There's a lot of scuttlebutt out there on the street. People are worried. I'm worried. As I said, invested significantly in this town, and I plan to stay here. But, you know, if the town's looking at multi-million-dollar lawsuit judgments, you know, I may have to rethink that. And I really hope for this town that you know what you're doing. Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Bill.
So motion to adjourn. All in favor?
All right.